So hello and welcome back, and in today's video we are going to create this secret language translator app using React JS. And I'm glad to be on Shanjai Raj's channel. I'm glad that I got the opportunity to be on this channel and to collaborate with Shanjai. Now let's get started. It will be very fun. So here, right over here, this is the final app. We are going to build it and we are also going to deploy it using Git. Okay, we are going to push it to GitHub and then we are going to use Netlify to deploy it. So what do we have in this app basically? So first of all, on the top you just have the title and a simple header. Then you have this some information about it. So the web app which lets you translate normal to secret text and vice versa to communicate secretly if you want to communicate with someone secretly. Okay, if you don't want anyone else to understand what's going on. So you can enter the normal text here and you can get the secret text here, or you can enter the secret here and you get the normal back. And you also have these copy buttons with which you can copy the text, and I'll teach you every single thing how you can implement these buttons and how you can copy the text inside of this one. So for instance, if I say hello world, okay, now this is the secret text. So the algorithm behind it is also very simple. Let me explain. The secret text will be everything before the normal text. So how do you understand it? Well, for instance, H and G. Okay, G every time comes before H and H comes after G. So if you want to convert from secret to normal, what you do is you add a letter. Okay, you go one step forward. If you want to go to secret, you go one step backward. So this is how it basically looks like. So you have H and you have G, you have E and you have D. So this is another pretty cool example which you can get, E and D. So if you go A, B, C, D and then it comes E. So basically what we do is we take each and every letter, we go a step backwards and we put that again. Okay, and spaces are going to be spaces. And also if we take a look, these simple, these symbols are going to be themselves. Also the numbers are also not going to change, so that's another thing. And you cannot enter capital letters. So if I was to enable my caps lock, that's not gonna work. Okay, so we are going to convert everything into lowercase. So let's get started. And also one more thing, that we are going to use Tailwind CSS inside of this project. Now don't worry if you don't know Tailwind CSS, it's very fun. And whatever you see here, right over here, this dark mode, if I change my system theme to light, it will change to light mode. Okay, and all this is done using Tailwind, and Tailwind is pretty powerful. I would say it's one of the amazing technologies I've worked with. So we can experiment with the light and dark themes pretty easily, and it will be very fun once you use Tailwind. Okay, and if you don't know what is Tailwind, Tailwind is just like how Bootstrap works. Okay, if you know Bootstrap, but in Bootstrap you have classes for built-in components. In Tailwind you can create your own components. Okay, these are not built-in components, so I created them on my own using classes. Okay, so you don't write a single line of CSS. And we are going to use hero icons for our icons. We just have one icon and that's fine. Okay, so let's get started setting up our project. Okay, so I have my terminal open and I have my desired directory where I want to create my project. So we will be using create react app. So we can just go ahead and say npx create -react -app, and then we can name our project. So I'm going to name it secret language. Okay, hit enter, and that's hopefully going to create our React app. And you should have Node.js and Node.js installed, so that will, okay, so that should work. And it's going to use either yarn or no npm based on your preference. So for me it's using yarn, but for you, if you have npm installed. Mostly if you use mostly npm, it's going to use npm. Okay, so finally we have our project ready. Now what we can do is we can just cd into secret language, and let's clear everything, and let's open up our favorite code editor, Visual Studio Code. So here is Visual Studio Code on my second monitor. It was on my second monitor. Now what do we want? So inside of here, let's close the welcome screen, we don't need it, and inside the source folder is where all of our all of our code will go, right? So but still we are going to delete some stuff, so let's go ahead and delete these files. So we say setup, test and report web vitals, logo, app test and app.css. so all these files are not actually needed, so we can just delete them like so. So all of them are deleted. Now also we need to take out the references wherever they are used. So for instance, right over here, okay, so report web vitals and save that. And if I go to app.js, we don't want the logo, we don't want the app.css, okay, and inside the return we are just going to return a div with a class name of nothing. Okay, now it got formatted because of prettier, the prettier extension. You can install that via the extensions right over here in Visual Studio Code. It's a really nice extension. Now once we got all that setup done, now we need to set up Tailwind CSS for our project. Now how we can do that? So install Tailwind CSS with create React app. This is the official setup, okay, which you can follow. So the first thing is install Tailwind via npm. You can use npm or yarn, so I'll use yarn. So I'll copy this part right over here. I'll go to my terminal again and I'll say yarn add, I'll paste that, so hit enter. So all of these dependencies will be added as your dev dependencies, so let them install first and then we'll take a look at what we can do next. Now once all these dependencies are installed, we can go ahead and install the Krakow. Okay, so this is what we'll need instead of React scripts. Okay, so we'll configure Krakow because in create React tab you need this. Okay, so just copy, let me just copy this and we'll go back to our terminal and I'll say yarn add and paste that, so at Krakow/Krakow. Okay, so you can follow this, I'll leave this link in the description below. And then you have to change these 3 scripts right over here to these ones. Okay, once it gets installed. Okay, so here it is installed, and now we can go back to VS Code. We can go to our package.json, and here in these scripts we need to change these 3 scripts. Okay, and then we can save that. Now we need to create a krakow.config.js, and then we need to add these this code inside of that file. So we can go back and inside of the root folder we can create a new file and we'll call it krakow.config.js. So let's copy this and paste this. Okay, so this is what we'll need. Hit save and then close that out. Okay, then we can just copy this command npx tailwind css init, so that will create a tailwind.config.js. so let's run this command inside of the terminal and that will simply create the tailwind.config.js. and inside of that one we will need to change the purge. Okay, so you can just copy this given purge, so that means which files to look at. So we can just go back to our tailwind.config.js and right over here we can just, oops, I didn't copy that. So here's our tailwind.config.js, and now we have to include tailwind in our css. So inside of the index.css file, we just need to copy this, and we are already importing this file inside of our main file. So let's just copy this and just go back to our index.css, and we need to replace all this code with this code. Now all of this stuff is done, and also I would recommend go ahead and using the Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. This extension is pretty powerful, so you don't need to remember all the Tailwind classes. Okay, so that's one thing I would recommend you do that. Now we can go ahead and we can start to code. Okay, so now let's start to code. The first thing we have to do is start our development server. So we can just go ahead and clear everything, and we can just say npm start or yarn start, whatever you prefer. In this case, yarn and npm doesn't matter. Okay, it just runs the same thing. Click go start. Now till it gets started, what we need to do is, the first thing we want to do is we want to set up the header. So in right over here, so you get this header. So we'll create this header first of all. So here is our server, it's starting up. Now for the header, we are going to create a separate component. So let's go inside of source, and in the source we are going to create a new folder called components, and in components we are going to create a header.js file. You can also use the JSX extension, but let's use JS for this one. Okay, and in the header.js, what you can do is you can just say const header, header will be equal to an arrow function, and we can just use the explicit return. Okay, so now we can just return a header tag, and instead of the header tag, I'll add a div, and then I'll add an h1, and I'll add secret language translator. Now let's export this. So it's going to be export default header, and we go to app.js and let's import this. So I'll just say import header from dot slash components slash header, and we can go inside of our div, we can just render out header like so. And now if you take a look at our app, we just have this title. Okay, so we have nothing, and you can see we have some styling done. If I zoom out, okay, so we have some styling done already. So the font is different and all that stuff. Now we can go inside of our header.js, and we can add some classes to style it. So the classes we have to add are as follows. So I'll say class name will be equal to, first of all, we'll add a bg blue, so a background blue of 700. Then I'll add text white, so the text should be white. And then I'll add border bottom 8, and then I'll add border left 8. So these are some classes. Okay, these are pretty cool classes. And then I'll add border right 8. Then to make it rounded, we'll use the rounded class. So rounded b3xl, and then we can use w full to make the width full size. And then we can add border dash gray dash 900, so the color of the border. And hopefully that's it for the header. Okay, these are the classes. And then we can go to the div. Now inside of the div, we can add the class name, and we can say container, and then mx dash auto. So that will do nothing, but that will just make our text look in the center. We can say p4, so the padding 4. And another thing is lg colon p6. Now this basically means that we use the LG breakpoint. So this means that every screen size, every large screen or above large will use 6 as the padding, and below LG it will 4 will be used. Okay, so for mobile devices and for tablets we'll use 4. And lastly, for the h1 we can just add class name is equal to text dash center, and we can add text dash xl. Now remember, this is for the mobile version. So for every small screen we'll use text 2xl, and then for medium devices we'll use text 4xl. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. We center the text, we set the text size to XL when it is on mobile, then above mobile for some devices we set it to 2XL, and then from that for tablets and so on we use 4XL. Hit save, and now if you take a look at our header, this is how it looks like. And we haven't done anything for the dark thing, and we'll do that later on, so don't worry about that. Okay, so now I reloaded VS Code, and that gave us some IntelliSense of that extension that we use. Okay, so you have the color right over here, you have text white, so you have white color, and when you hover over a class you get all the information about that class. Now we got the header done right over here. Okay, so let's just close out of the header. Now we'll create the info component, and the info component basically contains the information that you see right over here. Okay, so whatever information you see, that information is being is inside of an info component. So now let's do that. So inside of components I'll create a new file that will be info.js. okay, and that will be pretty much the same thing as header. So I'll say const info is equal to an arrow function, and that will return some JSX. So I'll say h2, and inside the h2 I'll say this web app, and instead of typing all of this stuff out, I can just copy this from my original code and paste that. So you can just export default this component, which is info. Now we also need to style this, right? So what do we need to do in the case of styling? So we can just add some classes. The first thing will be text dash XL, so the text will be large. So as you can see, all of the classes, so text will be large, and then not large, basically XL. So we'll then say text center, and then we'll say mt6, so that means margin top 6. okay, so 6 is just a figure in Tailwind. Then we'll add the small breakpoint. So on small screens the text will be 2XL. so from small screens the text will be 2XL, and from medium screens the text will be 3XL. okay, so basically the SM and MD and LG, all those things are for responsiveness, of how responsive the app is. So now we can just use info like so, and you can see we can just directly import this like so, and we can just close this out. So if we take a look, so you get this. Now this stuff is done also. Now let's style this div a little bit. So this main div right over here, we can just add two classes. So first of all we'll make this a container div, and then we'll make this mx auto. I explained this before also, so that means basically it's going to be container class, and then mx auto will just add some some space right over here and here. Now once that is done, what we will do is we will add a div to contain our text inputs. So let's create that. So I'll say div, and then I'll add class name. So right over here, the first thing we'll do is we'll say mt3, so that means margin top will be 3. So we need some margin, okay, from the info for the text boxes. And then we'll add flex, so we are using flex box. We'll say justify center, and then we'll say items center. So that means basically justify content center and align items center. Then we'll use flex dash call. So that means we'll use columns. So text input and text input will be above and below each other, but this thing will be on mobile. Then we'll use XL breakpoint. So that means extra large screens. In that case, we'll use flex row. Okay, so on screens, on extra large screens, we'll use the row. So that means text boxes will be like, so they will be like this, and on mobile, if you take a look, on mobile and on tablet they will be like this. So on extra large they will get like this. So this is what we are doing with this thing. Now let's create the text input, and this is just the container div, right? Now to create the text input, we'll create a new component for it because we are going to use two text inputs. So I'll say text input.js. Now we'll say const text input is equal to an arrow function, and then we'll return some stuff. Notice we are not using implicit return right over here because we might be needing some stuff, right? We might be adding some functions and all that stuff. So now inside of here, let's create a div, and the div we are going to give it the class name. So this whole section will be of text input, and text input is a kind of large component, so you don't worry, it's simple. So we'll use m-2, so margin 2, and then mdm4. So that means on medium devices it's going to be 4 margin, on medium and above medium. Then we'll use flex here again, but we'll use flex call. Okay, now inside of this div we'll create another div. So I'll now use emit simply. I'll say dot flex, and then I'll add a justify dash between and items dash center. So what is this doing is it's using flexbox and justify. If I just hover over this, justify content space between, so there will be space between, and inside of this one we are just going to add this label that you see and this button right over here. So and items align items center, which will align the items vertically center. So we'll add the label first of all, so label like so, and for we are just going to leave it empty as of now, and inside of the label we are going to add a b tag which we are going to leave empty, and we are going to add text. Okay, and after the label we'll add another component which will be a button. So that copy button that you saw. Okay, so we'll create a different component for that. So let me explain what is happening right over here. So I'll just export default this text input. Now when we render this text input, we are going to need two things. Okay, so if you take a look right over here, we have normal text and secret text. Now both are the same components but with different data. So what we are going to do is we are going to accept some props. So how do we do that? Well, you just know how do we accept props. So the props we are going to accept are going to be type, then we are going to accept the color and the value and set value. Now if you don't know what all of these are going to be, so just don't worry, I'll explain you when we pass these props in. So let's see. The first thing we are going to do is type. Okay, so type is going to be what we are going to put inside of this HTML for. So type will be the ID for our text area, for our text input, and type will be either normal or it will be secret. So basically if you take a look, if I explain you, so type will be either normal, so this is what type is going to be, or it's going to be secret. Okay, so either of these two things what type will be basically. So we are going to pass in the prop as normal or secret. Okay, so let's just get rid of this. Now we can just go ahead and check in the b tags that if the type is equal to normal. So we'll pass in the type as normal or secret, right? So if the type is equal to normal, then we are going to output normal, else we are going to output secret. Hit save. Now nothing really happens. So let's use this text input right over here. So I'll go inside of our app.js, I'll go inside of this div, and I'll simply say text input, but I will not render it like this. Okay, I will add these props which are needed. So we are just using the type as of now, so let's just add the type. So the type will be equal to normal at first. So why normal? Well, because normal is the type that we are using for the first text input. So let's just duplicate this with Alt Shift down, and we can use secret now. Okay, so hit save, and if I go back, you'll see we get normal text and secret text like so. So that's the magic of normal and secret. So that's how you do it. So we simply use the conditionals to, we determine what the type is going to be, and we used that to render out the text we want to. Okay, so normal or secret. Now these b tags just basically bold the text, and we got the label done. Now let's create that button that we saw, the copy button basically. So I'll create a new component right over here, so that will be copy button.js. So we'll go ahead and say const copy button, and that will be equal to an arrow function. Okay, like so. So we are going to use implicit return right over here, and in the props we are going to expect a function that will be called copy text. Okay, so this is going to be simply the function that we want to use when our button is clicked. So we'll return a div with the class name of m-2, so margin 2. So there will be margin around the button. Then we'll add a button, and this will have a couple of class names and a couple of props. So let's just go ahead and make this multi-line. So the first thing we'll add is on click, and on click we are just going to copy the text. Okay, so the function that we passed in, and the title is going to be copy text. Now if you don't know what is the title, basically if we hover over the button, okay, so if I hover over the button, so whatever thing shows up as the placeholder, or as the, for example, if I hover over this thing, so normal text goes here, and if I hover this, so you can see the copy text simple placeholder, or the tooltip, what you say. Okay, so that is that goes to the title attribute. Okay, now we'll add the class names. So we'll add the stylings. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is we'll say text XL. Okay, so the text size will be XL. We'll add bg transparent, so background will be transparent. We'll add padding 2. We'll add rounded full. Okay, so rounded full basically means it's going to circle that out. Then we are going to add a transition of all, so that means when you hover over it, when you click it, the the smooth effect that happens, that becomes comes from transition all. We'll add outline none, so we don't want the outline that the default button has. Then we are going to check the focus. Okay, so on focus, on the element is focused, first of all we are just going to say outline none. So when the button is clicked, we don't want any outline in that case also. Then we can add the hover, so when the button is hovered, we can add bg blue 700, so the background will change. Okay, and then we can add hover, so the text will be white when the button is when we hover over on the button. Now once you got that stuff done, we can just go ahead and add some focus stuff. So if I just export default, export, what's wrong, copy button, and we can go inside of the text input and we can simply use it. So I can just say copy button and it automatically imports it for us, and we can just pass in the copy text function, which will be simply an arrow function which does nothing. Okay, so we can just pass that in for as of now. Hit save, and if you take a look at our button right over here, if we refresh, okay, we have no button because we haven't added any content. So let's just put something like copy. Okay, so you see the button, and when we hover over it you get this. So we are going to add the copy icon. So the copy icon is also pretty simple. We can just go to hero icons, we can just search for copy, and we want this one. So we have JSX, so we want JSX, and yeah, we want the outline icon. So I can just click it. So now it's copied, and I can just paste this right over here. Okay, so we pasted this SVG, and these classes basically make it better with Tailwind. So we can just go ahead and see. So as you can see, we have this copy button. Now one more thing I would like to add is when you click this button, it should have a ring around it, like this one. So you have the ring right over here. So I want that thing also, and Tailwind provides it very easily. So how do you add that? Well, you can just go to you can just add a focus. Now when you focus the button, it should add a ring of 4, and then when you focus, it should add ring dash blue dash 500, so the color for the ring. And then we can add focus ring dash opacity dash 50, so it should be, the opacity should be 50, and that's it for the ring around the button. So now when you click it, you get a nice little ring around it. Okay, so that's what we needed. Once that is done, we got our button. So let's just close that out. This copy text function is what we miss right over here, but we are going to add that also. So let's just create a simple function. So I'll just say copy text const copy text, which will be nothing. Okay, so it will be empty for now. So I'll say copy text. Okay, so we got our copy button also. Now let's add our text area, which is also pretty amazing. So it will be a large element. So we want it outside of this div. Okay, so let's focus on the text area now. So I'll say text area. We are not going to add any of these right now. Now inside of the text area, the first thing we want is value. Okay, so the value, oops, okay, I need to add this. So the first prop we will add is value, and value will be equal to simply the value that is passed in right over here. Okay, so this value will be state, and set value will be the function that will set the state. Okay, if you know what are hooks. And then we'll add on change, and on change we are going to call set value. Okay, and we'll pass this function inside of our props, so don't worry about that right now. We'll add the placeholder. So the placeholder will also be like this. So if the type is normal, so in that case the placeholder will be normal text, and if the type is anything else, we'll add secret text. Now if you don't know what is this syntax and what is this syntax, all of this is ternary operators. Okay, so it's just a replacement to if else. If else will take a lot of time, and it will take a lot of area. Then we'll add the rows. So for the rows, I'm going to add, the rows will be 10, and the calls, so that means the columns, they will be 35. So we add the rows and we add the columns. Okay, now we also want to add the spell check. So if you take a look, I have the spell check, and this is basically an attribute which you can use on spell check. So if you take a look right over here, uh, if I enter anything inside of the normal text, okay, you don't get the red line. But if I add it I mean, if you take a look on secret, you don't get any red lines, but on normal you get the red lines. So you have the spell check on the normal and not on the secret. So we can just use the same thing. So we can use spell check, and spell check is what we want on only on normal. So we can just say type is equal to normal. So if the type is normal, only in that case we want the spell check. Okay, so only in that case. Then we can add the title attribute, which will be simple. So it will also be something like this. So type, if the type is normal, then we use the ternary operator. If the type is normal, we'll say normal text goes here. Else we can just say secret text goes here. Okay, hit save. Now you got all of this stuff, and if you take a look at our React app, you just get these two text boxes, but they don't do anything, right? They don't have any styling and all that stuff. So let's style them up, and we of course style them up with the class names. So I can just add the class name. Now in this case, we are not going to add the class names with this these things. Okay, we are going to add dynamic class names. So I'll use backticks to add them. So the first thing we'll do is we'll say border dash 4. So border will be 4, and we'll say border let's just add border black as of now. Later on we'll add this kind of gradient for the border. Okay, so border black, and then we'll add rounded MD. So that means that we'll round it a little bit. We'll add text LG, text dash LG, and so that means the text will be large. And on medium devices and above medium devices, we'll add text dash 3XL. Okay, so it will be larger on medium devices. Then we'll add, so let's just add that before this. So we'll have outline none. Okay, so the outline that you saw when we focus on it, so we don't want that outline at all. So we say outline none. We'll add P2, so that means some padding. And on medium devices, so we can just go back here, MD, will add P3, so that means this P2 will be on mobile devices, and P3, so padding 3, will be on medium and desktop devices. Then we'll add the font dash mono, so that means the font will be mono spaced, so the font that you use right over here, so some font like this. Then we'll add transition all, as we did in the button. So we want something pretty pretty simple, the transition. Hit save, and now you see this, it looks a lot better. Now with the black border, it doesn't look good. So let's see how we can fix that, how we can make it look better. So for the gradient borders, I'm using this package called TailwindCSS border gradients by Cosmin. I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong. So by Cosmin, and so basically it's very simple. You just install this package right over here. So let's do that. Let's go back to our terminal and let's exit out of this process. So we'll say yarn add, and then we can paste this Tailwind CSS border gradients, and then it says simple usage. So we just need to require it inside of our plugins, and we need to call the function, and then you can just add linear border gradients theme, and I mean you can just add this function. You can add these colors if you want. Okay, so we'll add the configuration by ourselves, so you don't need to worry about that stuff. If you don't know how to configure it, I'll teach you how to do that. So what we need to do is we need to go into tailwind.config.js once it gets installed. Okay, so it is installed now. Now we can go inside the tailwind config.js. Now inside of here, first of all, we'll require it inside of our plugin. So you need to say require, and then it's called tailwind CSS border gradients, and then we simply have to call it. So remember this syntax right over here. Okay, you need to add this. Then inside of our theme, you add extend, and then you need to add colors, the colors property, and then you can add the colors you want to. Okay, so we'll add text area color simply. Okay, we'll name it text area. You can name it anything you want. So we want two colors, so from and to. Okay, so I'll just copy and paste these two colors. So these are two colors for our gradient, and then we'll add a comma, and then we can say linear border gradients. This will be a function that will take in theme as the parameter. We don't need to pass in anything actually, so we have to return an object. So this is the syntax to return an object. So the object will have a property called colors, and then it just calls theme like so, and then pass does that. Okay, so you don't need to understand all this stuff. You just need to add a colon. Okay, so you don't need to understand all this stuff a lot. Okay, it does that under the hood. So this text area was the thing that you needed, and so hit save in the tailwind.config.js. Now we can go back inside of our text area, and now we want the border gradient, right? So we can just remove this border black, and I can say border dash gradient. Now this is a built-in class. Okay, so this is not a class name which you create, or this is a custom class right over here. Sorry. So we add border dash gradient, so you get all these intelligence, and that's because of the package that we installed. Then we say dash TL, so that means to left, and then we need to add the color. So the color we said was text area. So we specify text area, and this is the name of our color, right? So we can just add any color, whichever color it provides you. So you know, black, white, yellow, green, indigo, purple, and all that. But we have used our custom color, which is text area. Hit save, and now what you'll see, we also need to restart our app. So we can just go ahead and say npm start or yarn start, it doesn't matter. So now if you take a look, you got these, you know, cool gradients all around your text boxes. So hopefully all of the styling stuff is done, and now we can move on to our, you know, we can move on to the actual coding stuff that we want to do that. Okay, the styling stuff is done, but we'll add final responsive touches also, and we don't need this color, I think. Yeah, we don't need it, so we can just remove this. Okay, now let's accept this value and set value. So let's create this these things. So first of all, let's just create some state. So we can go to our app.js, and we can import something from React. So we want to import something from React. Now here comes the React part of doing stuff. Okay, so we can just import use state. Now inside of our function app, we can create two pieces of state. So first one will be const normal text, and we can say set normal text, that will be equal to use state, and it will be an empty string to start with. And then we'll just copy and paste this again the second time, and this one will be secret text, and then it will be set secret text, and that will also be the empty string to start with. Okay, so you got all you got both of these pieces of state, and then we can basically go to the text input, and we can say the value will be equal to normal text on this one, and let's copy this. So value will be equal to secret text. Okay, and then we can add we can say set value. That will be a function that will accept the e, which is the event, and we can just set normal text to whatever e dot target dot value is. So that means e is the event, target is the element, target is the text area, this thing is the target, and dot value, so that means whatever the value of this text area is. Okay, so this basically handles the form, basically controls the form. We can do the same thing here. So set value will be equal to e, and then we can say set secret text to e dot target dot value. Hit save, and now it's formatted properly. So you got text input and text input. And if we go to our browser, if I open up the dev tools, so the dev tools are like this, and we can just go ahead inside of our components. So these are because of the React dev tools, so you can install the React dev tools also. So if I go to the app, you see this state and state. So if I just modify this, for example, hello world, this state gets updated, and if I say hi secret or whatever, so this gets updated. So that's another power of React, and we're going to change both of these according to you know what, according to our algorithm. So we can just close out of this one. Now we'll add the function that will translate the text, and the function will be quite long, so let me try, I'll try to explain you the function in a very easy way. So we can just go down here, okay, and then we can just add a comment and say translate text function. So we'll create a function, and I can say const translate text will be equal to an arrow function. Now inside of this arrow function, we first of all accept an argument. That argument is called type, and type is what I explained you before. It's either normal or secret, nothing else. Now let's try to use this. So I'm going to say console.log translate text, and then we pass in the type, so type will be normal, okay, for now. So now first of all, we'll say const text will be equal to, if the type is normal, we'll say the text will be normal text, or the text will be secret text. Now let me explain what this basically means. So we create a variable called text, and if the type is normal, we say it's going to be normal text, and this is normal text, or else it's going to be secret text, and this is our secret text. And let's actually return nothing but the text to take a look at what is text. So we save that, we go back, and let's inspect. So if I go to the console, you'll see I get hello world. Why do I get hello world? Because I have hello world in the normal text. And if I pass in the type as secret, so now the type is not normal, right? The type is not normal, so it will return me secret text, and so the text will be secret. So this is high secret that you see, this stuff. Okay, so this is what we do. Now we created the variable called text. Now let's create another variable. This will be a function, so I'll name it set text, and this will take in something. So we can just say this will return you either set secret text or set normal text. So if we'll check if the type is equal to normal, it's going to be set secret text, and if the type is anything else, we'll set normal text. I'll explain you in a minute why we are doing like this, and I'll get the new text, and I'll pass in the new text right over here. Okay, so basically what we are doing here is, okay, so we are creating a function called setText. We are accepting a new text parameter. We are checking if the type is equal to normal. We set secret text to whatever the new text is. Else we set the normal text to whatever the new text is. Now listen me out here. What we are doing is we are creating a function that checks if the type is normal. If the type is normal, we are going to change the secret text, okay? And if the type is not normal, we are going to change the normal text. So we do all the stuff based on this type, okay? So by that what I mean is whenever you change the normal text right over here, so if you type something right over here, okay, in that case the secret text will be changed, and if you type in something in the secret text, the normal text will change. That is what this set text function will do, okay? So it will accept a new text, it will set the secret text or set a normal text based on this type, okay? Hit save. So we got nothing else. Now we can create another variable. Now this will be kind of hard to understand, but I'll try to make you understand this. So we'll say const new text will be equal to and let's get rid of this return text, okay? We don't need it right now. So I can just say text dot split and we'll split it with the string. So text dot the split method basically splits it and makes a string. So this is a string right over here, and it will convert this string to an array of strings, okay? So new text, it will be an array of strings like so. So you got text dot split. Now then we can just say dot map. So it's an array, so we can just map over it, and we can check each letter. For each letter will have a function. Now inside of this function, what's wrong right over here? Let's see. Okay, so it needs a return value. Now in here we'll check if the letter is A or Z. So if I just we'll say if letter dot to lower case. So if the letter or to lowercase is equal to A, we will return. If the type is equal to normal, so we need to use triple equals. If the type is equal to normal, we'll return Z or B. Now hear me out here. So what we do here, if the letter dot to lowercase, so if the letter we convert it to lowercase and then we check if the letter was A, then we do something. Now we return something in that case. So if the type is normal, okay, so if the type is normal, that means when we enter the text inside of the normal text box, we need to return Z, okay? So what do we do here is we basically change A to Z if it was normal, okay? And then if it was secret, so that means if the text we entered was inside of this text box right over here, we change that to B, okay? So we go a step backwards right over here, and we go a step forwards right over here. So that means we convert this, so this thing will be normal, okay? So you convert A to B, so that means it's going to be normal. So this B will be normal, and if you convert A to Z, so this Z will be secret. So if I show you the demo right over here, so if I say A, it converts that to Z. So that means basically you convert normal to secret, right? But if you enter A right over here, that should get converted to B. So if I say, for example, async anything, okay, or any other secret text, if I enter that has A inside of it, that should get converted to B in normal. And if I add A in the normal text, it should get converted to Z. So that is what we are doing here. I hope you understand it. If you don't, just try to understand this code, and if you still don't understand it, then just rewind the video and try revising how all this thing works. Okay, so let's get rid of this. Okay, and then now we checked if the letter dot to lowercase was A. Now we can check if the letter was Z. So you can say if letter dot to lowercase will be equal to Z. In that case, we do the same thing. We just return if the type is equal to normal. Now if the type is equal to normal, we'll return Y, else we'll return A. Now what does this mean? Now this is also very simple. So if the type is normal, so that means if you are typing inside of the normal text, the Z should get converted to Y. So if I say Z, so that should get converted to Y. And if I'm typing inside the secret, so if Z is in secret, that should get converted to A. I hope you understand this. So you convert Z to Y or A, you convert A to Z or B according to the text box you are typing in. Then this one is the simplest of all. So if the letter is equal to a space, you just return back a space. So you don't change anything, you just return what was whatever was that. Okay, now here comes the tricky part. Now in this case, we'll check if the letter is a number or the letter is a symbol. We just want to return the letter back to the user. Okay, now how do we do that? Well, first of all, we want to check if the letter is a number. And how do you check if the letter is a number? We can just say number letter. So what we do is we convert this letter to a number. But if I convert this letter to a number, and if it is the letter itself is not a number, then it will return me an error, or to be more precise, it will return me NaN. So let me show you how this actually works. So I'll just clear the console right over here. So for instance, if I have const something, and that is equal to, like, if I say it's going to be 6. Now this something, if I want to convert it to number, I can just use number, and then I can say something. So now something is a number. But if I say const some other or whatever, if I say this is going to be hello, and if I try to convert this to a number, some other, this will return me NaN, and NaN basically means not a number. So now we check. Now we convert it, right? We convert it to a number. Now we also check if it is not NaN. So we also need to check if the number is not NaN. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, in JavaScript you have a function called isNaN. So you can just wrap it inside of isNaN. Now this will return true if the letter if the number is NaN. We don't want that. We want to do the opposite. So if it is not NaN, in that case we want to execute whatever we have right over here. Okay, so we need to say isNaN like so. So what this does is simply this checks if the letter is a number or not. Now the other thing that we want to do is we want to escape the symbol. Okay, now escaping a symbol is quite tricky, so I'll explain you right now. So we just return the letter in that case. Okay, whenever I enter a number, we return a letter, the letter whatever the number was. Now let's understand how you can escape the symbols. So we can just add an or, and then we can just say, now if the letter that we have, so letter dot char code at, Okay, so char code at, you need to pass in an index. So that means this thing will return the character code of the letter. So every letter has a character code. For instance, if I just go ahead and show you like char, if I just say a dot char code at, so if you take a look, we have 97 for a. So for the symbols we have some range. So let me explain what's the range in that case. So the range is, if I create a comment, so the range is that every letter between 33 and 64, and then every letter between 91 and 96, and then every letter between 123 and 126 is a symbol. Okay, so these things are symbols, they are not alphabets, these are symbols. So we check if the character code of the letter, okay, so with this function char code add, so we check if the character code of the function is greater than or equal to 33, and also we check if the letter dot char code at, so char code at the same function, if it is also less than or equal to 64. Okay, so this is a very simple thing, we can wrap it inside of parentheses. Okay, so basically we check if the character code is greater than or equal to 33, or the character code is less than or equal to 64. So we check if the character code is between 33 and 64. That's it. Okay, that's what we check, and we can now simply copy it for these two things also. So we can just, I can just copy this and I can paste it two more times. Okay, like so, and then I can just check the same thing. So I can just check if it was 91, and I can just check 96, and then you got 123 and you got 126. Okay, so in all of those cases we just return the letter, and these three things just check if it was a symbol or not. Okay, hit save. We are going to check this out. Okay, so don't worry about that. Now let's just try to console.log the new text. Okay. Whew. Okay, this was kind of hard to explain, but it is what it is, right? Now we can go back and it throws us an error. So what's the error? I cannot access new text before initialization. So what do you mean by that? Okay, so it thinks that the new text is hmm, okay, so we just put that inside of our new text, that caused the problem. Now if I say anything, so if I say 5 6, okay, it's an array, right, with the length of 0. Okay, let's just I think we should just try to complete this function first of all, and then I'll try to explain you. Now we got all of our uh, conditions done, and now if all of these don't match, so if all of these ifs don't match, we are going to use else. So we don't need to use else because we are returning in each and every case, so we can just use return. Now what we want to do is we want to return the text one step forward or one step backward depending on the type. So if I was to be typing inside of this one right over here inside of the normal text, we want to return uh, one step forward or backward, we need to return one step backwards. And if I am typing inside the secret text, I need to return one step forward. Okay, so how can we do that? So we can just use string dot from char code. So we use from character code, Okay, this basically means that you have to pass in a character code inside of this function, and that will return your string. Okay, just like how char code at works, but char code at returns you the character code. Okay, it doesn't return you the string, but from char code returns you the string from the character code. Okay, so here you pass in the index, okay, and that will return you the character code. This returns you the string. Now in here we need to pass in the character code. So we say if the type is equal to normal. So we again check if it was in the normal. So in that case we can just say letter dot to lowercase dot char code at 0, okay, minus 1. So what do we do here? So we just convert it to lowercase, and then we get the character code, whatever the character code is, and then we subtract 1 from that. And else we do the same thing. So letter dot to lowercase, and then we say dot from dot char code at 0, and we add 1. Okay, so let me explain you this in the console. So I'll just go ahead and say, I'll just say string dot from char code. If I say the char code is going to be, okay, so we got string dot from char code on 77, we have m. So that's what we do. Okay, so whatever the char code of our if the type is normal, so if you are typing in normal, we just subtract 1. So if I say -1, we go from m to l, and if I add 1, we go from m to n. Okay, so in this case we convert to secret, so m will become l, and in this case we convert it to normal, so from l it will become n. So if I just show you, if I enter m here right over here, this becomes l, and if I enter m right over here, this becomes n. This is how it works. So it will go one step forwards or one step backwards depending on the condition, if it was in normal or secret. We are done with this function. Hopefully the last thing we need to do is we need to join it back. Now split, as I told, splitted it up inside of an array, and joins it basically, and it's safe. So that basically formats it, and then we can just set the new text. So set text to new text, and that's it. So let's see how we can whatever is the new text. So I'll say return new text also, so that we can just see it how it works. So we'll go ahead and set the type normal. Okay, what's the problem? Too many re-renders. Okay, I understand. So let's just get rid of this return, and let's get rid of this console log as of now. Okay, then we are just setting the text, and I think this function is going to do the stuff, but we are not calling this function. So now to call this function, we need to use useEffect hook. So let's import useEffect. Then up there we can call useEffect. So I can just say useEffect, and then I can pass in a function inside of useEffect, and then I can add a comma, and in the dependencies I can add normal text. Now inside of useEffect we'll call translate text to normal, and we'll copy and paste this again. We'll convert this to secret. Okay, so I used a shortcut called Control D to select this and this secret at once, and I changed it. So and don't worry about this warning, we can just ignore this warning. If you don't want this warning, you can just go ahead up there and just add this comment: ESLint disable React exhaustive depths. Okay, so you can just disable this by adding this comment up there. Now what these two things do, right? So this useEffect, will call this translate text function, and it will pass in the type as normal whenever the normal text changes. So whenever the normal text changes, it's going to do this. Okay, it's going to do all of this stuff if the type is normal. And whenever the secret text changes, it's going to use secret as the type, and it's going to change all that. Now this set text function is basically going to do all of our stuff. So it's going to set the secret text, it's going to set the normal text, and our app is ready. It's completely ready now. So if I say hello, if I go down, you see I got that. So if I say hi, how are you, also the symbols are not symbols are there right over there, only the letters, only the alphabets change. So that is how it actually works. Okay, so this whole function is the biggest thing you need to understand. Okay, so it's all about how strings work and all that stuff. So now I assume that you understand this whole translate text function and what we are doing inside of this function and how we are doing all that. And basically we are not changing any we are not basically changing this the text box text inside of that. We are changing the state that is inside of our React. Now let's add some final touches, which include the dark mode. Okay, so we want the dark mode. We also want what's called the copy functionality. So as of now, when you click this copy button, nothing happens because with this function is empty. So let's first of all just do this copy text function. Okay, let's just do this. So what we would need in order to copy the text, well, it's very simple. So what we need to do is we need to say we need to check if the clipboard object is in the navigator. So we copy the text using the navigator dot clipboard. Okay, this is the thing we use to copy the text and paste the text and all that stuff. So we need to check first of all that if the browser supports this thing. So if you're doing this in Internet Explorer and clipboard is not in navigator or something like that, or in some other legacy browsers, if we want to copy the text, we can obviously do this. So how can we do that? So first of all, we need to check if clipboard is in navigator, and we can check this simply by saying if clipboard. Okay, so you say string clipboard in navigator. So this is a really simple way to check if clipboard exists in navigator. And then we can add else, else you do whatever the other way. I'll explain you the other way also. So the first and the easy way is we can just say navigator dot clipboard dot write text. So you write the text on the clipboard, and the data will be a string. So the data will be simply the value, and you know what's the value? The value is this prop that you accept, and you accept the normal text or the secret text. So basically when you click the copy button, it's just going to write this value to your clipboard. Now this is the first way. If you don't have clipboard in navigator, if you're using a legacy browser or someone else, in that case we first need to get the text area. So we first need to select the text area, and then we can copy the text. It's very simple. So we'll use ref for that, and if you don't know what are refs, don't worry, I'll explain you. So first of all, we need to import something from React. So we import use ref. Okay, that's what we import. Now use ref and refs are simply like document.get element by id. Okay, but it's the React way of doing stuff. So first of all, you create a variable called const txtref. You can name it anything you want, and I can set it to use ref function. So you get this is a mutable ref object of undefined. That's fine. And then what you can do is inside of this text area you can place this. So you can just add the ref prop. So remember, you need to add this ref prop and then pass in the txt ref. Okay, so just pass in that variable. So now this becomes now this variable will become the text area. Okay, and then you can simply say const text area. So we are going to create the text area, and we are going to select the text area. So I can just say txt ref dot current. The property called current is the element. Okay, is this JSX element. So you got the text area, and now you can just say text area dot select, and select is a function. Select is simply a function on the input and text area, which basically selects the whole text. So for example, the select function will just select it like so. Okay, it is selected, and then we can just say document dot exec command copy. So you execute the copy command, and then you show UI. So that's optional. We can set it to true or false. So we say to true or false, whatever you want, and then the value is finally the value. So this function executes the command copy. So this copies, this selects, and this is the text area initialization. Okay, so this is the other way of doing it, and this is the first way of doing it. So this is not non-standard, but this is the standard way. Hit save, and now what you'll notice is when I was to click this button, it will copy this text. So for now, if I was to paste my current, so this is what I have copied the last time. Okay, so if I paste this, so this is my clipboard content right now. But if I was to click this copy button, this copy button will copy this stuff. So if I was to just click it, copy text, now it is copied. If I paste, you see this is the copied version. If I want to copy this, I can just click this, and I can just get rid of this and paste it. So as you can see, this copy button works fine. And if we try to view it inside of Internet Explorer, that also should work totally fine, or in any other legacy browser. It will also work on Firefox. So basically you can copy the text now, and that's the last JavaScript part I think we had to do. Now the final touches are some responsive design and the dark mode. So how can you enable the dark mode? So in the tailwind.config.js, you can just enable this, and you can set it to media. So basically, if you set it to media, this means it's going to check the it's going to check what's your system theme, and it's going to set the dark theme in that case. Now we set the dark theme right over here, but we also want to change the color of the text area, because these are not the colors we want on the dark mode. So for the dark mode, we want some different colors, and so we create a different color. So in the colors, we add a new color that's called text area dash dark, and then these are the colors that we add. Okay, so it's as simple as that. That's what you add in Tailwind config. Now what else you need to do is you need to add the classes for dark. Okay, so how can we do that? Well, let's go inside, let's go back to our this text area, and we can add the classes. So for dark, you just need to add so dark, and then you can add a colon, and then you can add whatever you want if the dark mode is enabled. So first of all, we want the bg gray 800, so the background should be gray for the text area, and then you say dark dark and border gradient to left text area dash dark. It just takes some time to set up again, okay, because we edited the Tailwind config. Hit save, and now the border gradient will be different. So if I go back, you see our dark mode is enabled, and that's why we have all of this stuff. And the border gradient is not different for some reason. I think it's the same right over here. I don't know why it's not different, why it did not change, but it's kind of fine. Maybe if we do this, and then we add this as our class. I have no idea why it did not work. For some reason it did not work. Maybe if it worked out for you, very well, but it's fine as of now. The next thing we can do is we can add the dark mode for our global app.js. Well, our if you noticed, the background is still white, so how can we fix that? Well, you can use useEffect again. So we can just call useEffect again. So useEffect, and I can pass in a function, and then I can pass in an empty array. So we want this to happen at the start only. So we can just say document element dot class name is equal to dark. So we are going to add the class name dark, and all of this stuff will be happening from the system theme. So we can just say document dot body dot class list dot add, and then we can add a couple of classes. So it's going to be bg gray 200. So we add a gray background if we don't have dark. Then we add dark bg gray 700. Okay, so it will be a bit darker gray, and then we say dark text dash white. Okay, so these are the classes we add, and hit save, and you will notice that it gets converted to dark mode, and whatever text I enter is white. Okay, now this header also isn't dark. Okay, I mean it does not fit, it does not suit like it is in here. So we can just go ahead, go to our header component, and we can add the classes for dark. So for dark I can just go right over here, I can say dark bg blue 500, and then I can add dark text white. Text white is already there, so I don't want that, and as you can see the color has changed. And also for the buttons, so the buttons look a little bit better here. So we can just go back, and we can go to the copy button. I just control clicked it, so that opened up, and I can add the dark color. So the dark is going to be dark hover. So now on dark we add the hover effect, and hover we say bg blue 500. That's it. So if dark mode is enabled, we just, when we hover over it, it should be dark mode, and that's it. That's it for our app. And the final responsive touches that I was talking about is that when you go to small screens, this is going to get messed up. So this is how it looks like on our app, and this is how it looks like on the other app. Also, we forgot the border on the on the header, so let's just add that. So we can go back to header, and we can just add a dark border. So we can just say dark border dash gray dash 500. Okay, so we have a border. Now as I told, for responsiveness, this is how it looks like on our app. So the text box are, I mean, they are sticking, but this is how it looks like on the original app. So I did not find any way to change the value of rows and calls using Tailwind. So what I did is I used media query myself. So I can just create a media query. So I can just say const, I can just say media, and then I can say window dot match media, and then I can pass in the media query that I want. So I'll pass in min width. If you have used CSS, this is pretty much the same thing as CSS. Okay, so now this is the media query. I can just go here, I can say if media dot matches. So this is a boolean, matches is a boolean. If that is true, we will go 10. If that is false, we will go 5. So it's like if our screen is more than 768 pixels, so that means if it is like a tablet or a desktop, we'll add 10 rows. else on mobile we'll add 5 rows. So similar thing here, so I'll say media dot matches. If it is true, then 35, else we should add 25. Okay, hit save, and now you will see that if I go back, this is how it looks like, and our app works totally fine. Hello world. And if I go back, you can enter any secret text and that will get converted to normal text. So that's how you can communicate secretly with whoever you want. Okay, so hopefully most of the stuff, I mean all of the stuff, is done now, and the final stage is deployment of this project. Now we are going to use GitHub. We are not going to use the, I mean, we are just not going to drag and drop the whole website onto the hosting provider. We are going to use GitHub in this case. Now if you don't know what is GitHub and how you can use it, well, it's just version control system. Git is a version control system and you can use GitHub, which is pretty simple. So uh, first of all, let's just close all files, right? First of all, we just close all files. Now we want to publish all of these files to GitHub, and for that, let's just go ahead and commit these changes. So I'll just say it's going to be ta-da, first commit. Okay, and let's commit all of these changes. Yes, so here it is, and maybe we can add a remote or something, but we want to publish this on GitHub, so I don't find a way to do this right from here. uh so okay, so you can just open up the command palette by Control Shift P, and we can just go ahead and say publish to GitHub and hit enter. Okay, it says you want to sign into GitHub, then allow, and let's just sign in. So after signing in, you can simply select which public or private repository you want to publish on, and then we are going to select the public repository, and it says it already exists, and the reason it says it because I already have this repository. So we are going to we are just going to rename it to secret language React. Okay, so we are going to push it to a public repository, and you can see it is uploading the files, it's publishing it to GitHub, and once it does that, it will give us a link, or we can even go to that directly from our web browser. So as you can see, it successfully published it. So if I go ahead and click on open on GitHub, it's going to open this up. So I will leave this link in the description also if you want to check out the code, if you want to check out how everything works. Okay, so this is just the default create React app readme. Now we want to deploy it also. We just don't want to publish it, we also want to deploy it. So to deploy it, we are going to be using something called Netlify. If you haven't used it yet, don't worry, I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so you just need to log in or sign up. Okay, so I already have an account, so I'm just going to log in. So you can log in also, and then you can with Netlify there is a really cool service with which you can just directly use GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket, wherever you are publishing this. You can just directly add your app, and whenever you push the changes the next time, your site will be updated automatically. So it's just continuous deployment. So after logging in, what you can do is you can just go ahead, and you won't see any sites if you're new, but if you have already done some sites, you will see some. Okay, so we can just click on new site from Git. Okay, and it says continuous deployment, and then you can use whichever service you use. So I'm going to use GitHub because we publish it to GitHub, right? And it will authorize you, and then you need to select the repository. So we named it secret language React, right? So it should be, we can just search right over here. So I can just search for secret language React, and then it will find that repository, right here. So if I just click it now, for we want to deploy the master branch, we want to use this build command, we want to publish the build directory, and everything is fine. You can just deploy site, and that is it. Okay, so site deploy is in progress, and you can see the logs if you want right over here. So if you click it, this is going to be the deploy log. One thing to note is that if you have any warnings, that the deployment is going to fail. So for instance, if inside of our app.js, you noticed we added this comment. Now this comment disables a warning that we had right over here. So normal text and secret text, we had an underline that, hey, you cannot use this dependency right over here. Okay, so this comment basically disables that, so you can easily deploy your site, and that won't cause any problems. And I'll be back once it deploys your site, once it deploys the site. So here, if you take a look now, our site is deployed on this address, nostalgic goodall.netlify.app. And if I click on that, you'll see that we can visit our site, and it's dark mode because our system is dark mode, right? And so we can use it, we can do whatever we want, we have no problems. Now the only problem is that this address, okay, no one would like to go to nostalgic goodall and this weird address. So how can we change this address? Well, you can just go to domain settings, and inside of here you can just go ahead and edit site name. So here you can edit the site name. You will have .netlify.app in the end because Netlify provides it for free. Okay, so we can add whatever we want. So I'm going to say it's going to be secret language, and remember this should be unique. Okay, so let's try saving it, and let's see if we have that. Okay, so this domain is available, and we can click on it, and now our domain has changed. So now if I was to refresh here, this is not going to work. Okay, because this is not available now. Okay, the only thing available now is this. So I will leave this link in the description as well. You can deploy your site on Netlify. It's pretty easy. You saw how easy it is. Okay, and I hope this video helped you. Again, thanks to Shanjai who gave me the opportunity to be here and make the video here. And you can also check out my YouTube channel, which is Max Programming. He'll leave the link in the description below. So finally, thanks for watching.